Howdy, and welcome back to Celebrating Vintage Model Kits. Going to be looking at another Lindberg German bomber. This is the 1960 Lindberg Heinkel He-111. It's a 1/64 scale, and it's kit number 540.98, so it had a suggested retail price of 98 cents. We got box art by the famous Ray Gadke, and this was originally issued in 1958. So I'm not going to go too much into the Heinkel history. I'm pretty sure most of you know a lot about the Heinkel. But specifically, this particular kit is of the H1. And the H1 was the most produced version of the He-111. And it was the next step from the P series. The P series introduced the all-glass nose, and the H series went from Daimler-Benz DB601 engines to Jumo 211 engines. There was concern that there was going to be a shortage of the 601 since those were being used for ME-109s and ME-110s and some other aircraft that were in the pipeline. So they thought that it might be smart if we switch over engines. Horsepower was about the same, about 1,100 horsepower. The Jumo was slightly larger, slightly heavier, but it didn't affect the aircraft all that much. The H1 was still armed with only three 7.92 MG15s, one in the nose, one in the top, and one in the bathtub. Later versions then added side guns, guns in the front of the tub, cannon in the nose. They're really trying to increase the armament on it, but this first H1 still had the three 30 cals, or 7.92 I should say. The bomb load was 8 SC-250s, which are 250 kilogram bombs, or approximately 550 pounds, or 32 SC-50s, 50 kilogram bombs, or 110 pounds. A total number of Heinkels that were built, the 111s were 6,508. There's 5 that are surviving to this day. An He-111 E1, which is the conventional nose version. There's one of those in Spain. A P2, which is mostly complete, is in the Norwegian Air Force Museum. An H-20, which is the transport version, is in the RAF Museum in Hendon. An H2 that had been salvaged from a Norwegian lake in 2004 and sent to Germany for restoration is in pretty complete condition. It had crash landed on emergency landed on the lake, and then on a frozen lake, and then the lake melted, and down went the Heinkel. And then finally there's an H-16. In 2019, in the Battle of Britain Museum, they were restoring what they believe was a Casa 211, which was the Spanish-produced version with Merlin engines. And while they were restoring it, they discovered that it actually was originally an H-16 that had been converted to 211 standards. So they are restoring that one back to original H-16 status. So that's a little bit about the Heinkel, and let's take a look at our kit here. So we've got this great artwork on here by Ray Gadke, kind of stylized. This gunner here is kind of in an odd angle. The markings are kind of on the top side of this curve fuselage, and the wings look like they're foreshortened. A lot of artist license going on here, but it still kind of looks cool. It is in this kind of strange mottled one color green as opposed to a splinter camouflage, and I'm assuming this is just reflected light from the explosions going on below as opposed to a yellow underside. And then we've got the Lindberg line logo over here, famous the world over. Ray Gadke's signature in the corner. Authentic plastic airplane kit of the German Heinkel by Paul Lindberg. And the special features are movable controls, retractable landing gear, scale engines, and a complete crew, which that was actually kind of a big deal at this time. Usually you just got a pilot figure. So on the side here, we've got line drawing of the same kind of angle. We've got Lindberg's address here. On this side here, we've got mention again of the features, movable surfaces, crew, whatnot. Free display stand is included. Make sure you use Lindberg cement. On the end, we've got a repeat of the top box art. And the kit number here, $540.98, and the 98's underlined to emphasize suggested retail price at 98 cents. And this end here looks the same, and we still have an original old price sticker, which shows that this kit sold for 70 cents instead of the 98 cents. So somebody got a deal. And you may have noticed that this is an end opening box, because this is one of the infamous Celovisions. So the Celovision series was Lindberg's attempt at kind of showing you what the kit looked like. This predates the famous Matchbox window of happiness on their 70s kits. So this is 1960, and they're attempting to do the same thing. These did not last very long because these windows would punch out very easily, and parts would just dump out. So the kits prior to this were just tape closed, and it was not uncommon for kids to open these things up on the shelves. So Lindberg thought, okay, hey, we'll seal up the box, but people still want to see what the kit looks like, so we'll give them this. So that's the new Celovision packaging. And they're guaranteeing that all the parts are going to be in here, but if not, send it into Lindberg, not going back to the hobby shop. And then they've got this cutout here for a little card. So cut out your identification card. Get more when you buy Lindberg. Now this is interesting as well too. It says here to cut on the dotted line and fold back to use the package as a tray for parts while assembling. So they're suggesting you keep this thing sealed up and you cut this thing open around the edge here and then fold the top back in order to be able to still kind of have a box. But of course, where are you going to put it when you need to close it up? So needless to say, this did not last very long. This is a completely original sealed Lindberg box, and I'm not going to open this. So what I do have is an entire separate kit here. So we will open this one so we can see what our kit looks like. Lots of parts here. Get this out. Everything's pretty much off the trees, so we won't see that, but we'll still be able to get a good view of the kit. So we have our instructions here. So they're showing you kind of a drawing photo-ish of the complete model, showing you your decal placement. You get your mechanic, a stand for the engine, opening engine cowling here, retractable gear, all kinds of fun stuff. And then some call outs for some colors. Little history of the He-111, multiple languages, looks like German, French, and Spanish. Then assembly is step by step with kind of photo drawings of the parts. Get a little bit of a cockpit here. You get a bombardier and a pilot. There's your rudder, there's your guns, here's your nose canopy, 2 parts. One of the challenges when you're doing an He-111 is, how do you do the molding on something like that? So we'll see that when we get to the parts. Put the fuselage together, your nose, your tail, your top gunner, your gear doors, retractable gear, showing you how to put it inside the nacelle, how to move it. Interesting, they've got all the languages at each step. It's a little different, kind of cluttering it up a bit. And then we've got actually some representation like the radiator inside the engine nacelle, which is nice. Then the assembly of the engine itself. And putting the engines in. And there's your stand. And then as far as decals go, fairly simple. Got a few crosses. No happy fun party symbol. If you notice, it was not on the box art as well. And this is actually a real aircraft. This is an He-111 and it is from 9KG1, and it was shot down in France, I believe. No, I'm sorry, Holland. So it was shot down in Holland. And so there's actually quite a number of photographs of it, people inspecting it and stuff. So I will show you some photographs of it here. Okay, welcome back. Quick correction. The aircraft actually was shot down near the Somme in France, in a town called Albert. And that was on 15 May of 1940. So the inspectors that are around it are actually RAF officials. So that's a little more detail on this particular aircraft. So now let's take a look at the plastic. So I kind of laid it out in kind of sections here. And we've got our fuselage here. Typically start with that. So let's see what we got here. And, it's kind of this odd sizing because it's 1/64 scale. It's, well bigger than a 72nd, but not, 48. So it's this kind of odd size. So it kind of feels a little funny. Fuselage is very cylindrical. And we've got surface, some fairly fine panel lines, and then we've also got some rivet detail going on there. Rivets are a little bit large. Got an odd pattern to it. Fit-wise, not the tightest fit in the world, but not bad. Fitting's fairly thin, but it does look like it's going to need some help because it's wiggles around a lot, so you have to really be careful with getting that lined up just right. Looks like there might be an extra little lip there. And there we have the underside. There's our gunner's tub. And as far as the inside goes, really nothing else in there. So there's your fuselage. We have our wings. Upper and lower. The lowers have the engine cowling in the bottom of the engine itself. Kind of clunky looking. Yeah, kind of a stylized view of it. Do you see a little bit of sinkholes for the ejector pins? I'm sorry, the locator pins. The ejector pins are on the inside, which is nice. You get markings for left and right. And then here's the top side. Here you can see again some sinkholes from some of the locator pins and other things. So again, similar surface detailing. Here's your wings. Here's the top of the engine cowlings. Nothing on the inside. A little bit of flash on these pieces. Here's our propellers. These are not the best. Look a little small too. Our wheels, not much to the wheels. No tread or anything on here. If I remember, I think the He-111 have these like horizontal slashes on their tires. And here's the horizontal tailplane. And your movable control surfaces. There's some attempted fabric representation on there. A little heavy-handed. There's our rudder, similar again. Some fabric representation, and then the control tabs, or trim tabs. Shaping is a little off here. It's like almost like a short shot. And here's our movable aileron pieces, and similar fabric representation as well, and trim tabs. Some of our cockpit pieces, floor, bomb sight, I guess. There's the pilot's instrument panel, which, if I'm not mistaken, I think was kind of arched across the roof of the cockpit. Then we've got these engine parts. So this is kind of a good thing about this kit. You've got a fairly nicely rendered Jumo engine here. The exhaust parts. There's those little screens. Some of the engine bearers are here. The cart, I think that's part of the cart. Landing gear. So some nice little bits of this. Something that you didn't typically get from a lot of kits. You know, a full engine, you know, at this time. So there's that. And then here's our crew guys. So here's our ground crewman. Just generic guy with a hole in his back. And this, I think, is supposed to be the top gunner. And there's his arm connected to his head. I guess his mom was drinking a lot. And he doesn't look too bad. And you cut that off and glue it into good position. He's kind of a good-looking guy. And here's the bombardier in a kneeling position. Same thing. His arms are growing out both sides of his head. Mommy definitely hit the schnapps when she was pregnant. And there's our pilot. It's not a bad-looking guy. It actually kind of looks German in its uniform. So pretty good. Now here's a part that's not so good. Are the included machine guns. These are awful. I mean, there's detail to them, but they look nothing like an MG-15. Looks almost like a USM 1919 30 cal or a Marlin potato digger. So there's that. There's the other one, and one more. And so there's that. Here's our gear doors, kind of stylized to be able to function in that retracting landing gear. Here's our little plaque for the He-111. There is no stand in here, so I can't show you what that stand looks like, but then we can look at the clear parts. So we've got it split down the middle with pins, which have supports behind them, and that is not the best looking clear part. Fairly thick. We do have some fairly nicely raised framing on it, but the pins holding it all together, or locating it together, really take away from it. You can see, yeah, the seam's not too bad, but those locator pin tabs are atrocious on it. And as far as shape goes, it does have the slight kink to the right. Seems to me like it should be shifted over a little bit more. Doesn't seem to be a representation of the top window. When they went to this nose, sometimes they get weird reflections in here during takeoffs, you know, in the morning or at night. So there was a window that could open up that became a windscreen. Pilot could jack himself up and stick his head literally out the top of the aircraft to be able to see a little better. You do have this part right with the kind of, this is a rotating, this part here rotates on the real aircraft to be able to angle the nose machine gun. Maybe seen that in the good old Battle of Britain movie, them operating that, but this is definitely a downside to this kit. Here's the rear of the tub. This does not look very accurate at all. It's just a kind of almost a pillbox of clear plastic. Here's our top sliding hood. Or it's not really sliding, but and we do have some framing on that. And then our side windows. Not the best plastic in the world. There's definitely some dimples in it. So, you know, their plastic's leaving a bit to be desired. You know, 1960 here, you can compare this to like the monogram Avenger that we just looked at from right around the exact same period, and it's significantly better clear parts on that monogram kit. So there you have it. There is your Heinkel 111 from Lindberg. They did a few issues of this. The first one was the 1958, had the same box art as this one, but in a top lifting box. Then 60, you got the Celevision, like what we've got here. And then we've also, in 62, they went back to the top opening box and got new artwork from Ray Gadke for that one. In the early 60s, a lot of the Lindberg kits had their names changed. Instead of having the actual official name and designation, they started using common names for them. So in this case, instead of saying He-111 and Heinkel, it just said German Blitzbomber on it. The artwork's kind of neat, much better artwork, I think, than what's on this version. And they also added a tractor, the same tractor that was used for their U.S. Navy ones. So, not so much appropriate maybe for this Heinkel. You know, maybe a Kettenkrad would have been a better choice for it. 67, there was some new artwork, kind of just a profile art by a gentleman by the name of Boyanowski. New decals at that time. 70 issue was pretty similar to that one. 73, they revised the box, still the same profile, but it had kind of that pop art style box that Lindberg did for a little while in the late 60s, early 70s. And then 76, Lindberg did an issue through Necomisa, which was their Mexican subsidiary that used the same pop art box. And then finally, the last couple were in 86 with a photo box, new decals at that point. And then in 2007, new photo, new decals, new box. And interesting, they label that box now as a 1/72 scale kit. So somebody who may be inclined to have bought that might have been surprised by how big this thing was when they opened it up. So that's about it. If you've built one of these guys, tell us about it in the comments section. And of course, if you got it on your shelf still, take some pictures of it, send it in for our next viewer build video. And that's about it. So thanks for watching and have yourself a great rest of your day.